Good afternoon and welcome to the Sustainable Materials Management webinar series. I'm Kirsten Deischer with the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center. And this series is a joint effort between the National Recycling Coalition and the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center with the donation of the webinar software by the Mobius Network. So we thank them. With us today is Joe Knezic. He is the Vice President of Creative Services and Branding at PPOS, which is an integrative marketing for communications agency here in central Pennsylvania with an impressive roster of regional and national clients. In a career spanning more than 3 decades, Joe has the proven track record of developing marketing, branding, and creative strategies in a broad range of client categories. His resume includes leadership positions at some of the region's most reputable advertising agencies, including the role of Vice President and Co-Creative Director at Knezic Advertising, a firm he and his partner began in 1992. Throughout his career, Joe and his creative teams have been recognized with hundreds of regional, national, and international awards for creative excellence. In May 2009, Joe was awarded a master's degree in advertising design from Syracuse University after successfully completing its nationally recognized independent study program for experienced advertising professionals. The program afforded many opportunities to witness the most current best practices in communications with thought leaders throughout the U.S. and Europe. Joe assumed his current position at PPOS in September 2010. As a creative strategist, he works with internal teams and the agency's clients to develop fully integrated campaigns combining both traditional and non-traditional mediums for maximum impact. With that, we will turn it over to Joe. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please enter them in the dialog box and we will respond to them as quickly as possible. Thank you. Here's Joe.
Thanks, Kirsten, and thanks for all of you to join us today. Today's about social media and e-marketing. Where do I begin? Not really surprising. Sorry. Why we're even having this discussion. As all of us are aware, for the last years, we've all seen around us that people are talking, people are texting, people are typing. It's one big global conversation, and it seems like it's 24/7. From the newsroom to locker rooms, boardrooms, and classrooms, social media has become a hot topic. And not only are people having conversations through social media platforms, social media has become part of the conversation itself. And it's changing everything from how we share experiences, how we follow our favorite teams, musicians, and how we learn about the world around us. It's the phenomenon of social media. And that's our topic for exploration today. Good place to start is with the basics. What really is social media? I think this helps us all put it in the context for why we're talking about what we're talking about today. First of all, what makes it very unique is that it's user-generated online content. Its intent is to take an individual entry from monologue to dialogue. The idea is to get people talking, to engage in conversations. The content, these conversations, facilitate introduction and networking, hence the social part. It transforms people from content readers into online publishers in a way that's never been seen before, and that's quite empowering. All of this is intriguing and impressive enough, but why is it getting our attention? Why are you sitting before your screens today? Let's face it, the numbers are huge, as you're well aware. More than 800 million active users on Facebook, over 200 million accounts on Twitter, and on LinkedIn, more than 120 million registered users. Without a doubt, The first word in social media is the driver. It's social media. It's a social phenomenon. But today, we're going to be getting a business perspective on social media. There's a lot of talk about the social aspect, but what about we in the business world? How do we get a piece of this huge pie? How can it become our conversation? In my role as a creative strategist, it's not unusual for a client or prospect to come to me and say, hey, we need to do social media. Need to do, I say, what do you mean? Say, oh, the head guy has seen articles and he sees the numbers and we need to be there. Or on the other end of the spectrum, we have some kids right out of college and they say we're really missing out on opportunities if we don't engage. But it shouldn't be an end unto itself in that framework without all exclusion to other things you're doing. What I hope today to do is to kind of challenge you to do a little bit different thinking, that I want to help you take a business perspective on social media. What I was just talking about is something like this, where your marketing communications, some folks look at social media as a separate item, a separate element. How are we going to do it? You know, how are we going to learn and ride that learning curve quickly so that we're proficient in it? But what I think we've seen is really effective is, as Kirsten mentioned, the focus of our firm is integrated marketing communications, where all components of your marketing communications work together and propel your messages forward, hence propelling your brand forward. And if you think about it, shouldn't your message have the same personality and emphasis in social media as it does in the other ways you communicate with clients and prospects? It's almost a logical thing, yet folks are going off on social media and creating separate personalities, or they're not really sure what to say or how to say it. That should all be decided in a plan even before you embark upon social media, so that instead of separate conversations, all your conversations work in tandem, building momentum as you move the brand forward. We call this momentum building approach integrated marketing communications. Fancy sounding name perhaps, but it's a logical, strategic discipline or a deliberate plans created for all communications so that all these channels, whichever ones you engage in or will engage in, speak from the same brand voice and are working toward the same goals. As a creative strategist also, I daily am reminding clients that brands are measured in the strength of the relationship a customer or a company has with its customers. Effective and ongoing conversation is an essential part of maintaining your brand. This is the first bit of evidence that I'm putting out here for you of how social media can be valuable to your brand and its communication. After all, we're talking social media, we're talking conversations. These conversations are at the heart of your relationships. Why not use them to further? I understand that many of you are at the early stages of involvement with social media, or maybe not even immersed yet. This is a stage that many of our clients come to us at for counsel. And it's a good place to be, actually. It's to let others go out first and do things that you learn from. But one of the things that I think prevents folks from getting into social media is kind of that uneasiness that comes with a lack of familiarity. And part of that uneasiness also comes from just not understanding what is truth and what is myth. So one of the big things I'd like to start out with first is let's debunk some of these myths about social media. And this is kind of like our greatest hits collection from clients that we've worked with over the past few years. Number one, we hear this all the time. We don't have a social media presence. We're so far behind, we'll never catch up. Kind of that defeatist attitude, and they go at the social media kind of half-heartedly because they think it's a race that somebody has a few furlongs on. That's not the truth at all. In fact, the truth is, if you take the proper steps, beginning with an observe and learn approach, the learning curve can be relatively short.